This is Wayne, President of Reality Ministries, with another episode in our podcast series, Speaking the Truth.
And this is Ben Fields back with you. And again, we're going to continue our podcast on leadership today and qualities of a leader. And last time we talked about the resilient leader, and we're going to continue talking about the resilient leader today. And we'll do a quick review, and then we'll talk about biblical characters who are resilient. So, Dad, I'll throw it back to you as a definition of what a resilient leader is and a quick recap, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, Ben, a resilient leader is a leader that amid difficulties, potential distractions, they're able to stay the course in achieving the vision or the dream or the mission that is before them.
Yeah, and so a couple examples. I mean, one of the things we talked about last time was individuals who are leaders who have failed or have come up short. They use that as motivation, or they use it as a teachable moment and a building block to the next thing. They don't get hung up there. And then they're willing to own it. They're willing to talk about it, not because they're stuck there, it's because something they learn from to be an influence on other people. And I think a lot of times what we see in our own lives, whether you're in a leadership position or not, if you have a setback of some sort or it doesn't go your way, you suddenly want to quit. You want to give up, and woe is me. We want to feel sorry for ourselves, right? And so I think for me, everyone unless they're lying, has had disappointments in their life. They've had setbacks in their life. The difference can be is how you handle those setbacks. And if you're not willing to learn from it, be teachable from it, and grow from it, then you're probably not going to be very successful. All right, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, recovery time is a big one. Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to bounce back when things haven't gone well, the way that you would like for them to go? Yeah. Because you got to realize that it's just part of the deal. Yeah. It's part of the deal, especially if you're in leadership. And the more higher role or profile you have in leadership, the greater the difficulties and adversity you're going to have to face, which includes things like criticism from others, because nobody, I hate to say it, but nobody, especially others in your same field, they don't like to see someone else be more successful than they are, even in the Christian realm at times. You know what I mean?
And I remember, about 6 years ago when I was fired from the sheriff department. And one of the things is that was a tremendous setback. I had been a cop for 12 years. And when that happened, I was national news and everything else. Yeah. It was one of those things where I had to make a choice. And one of the things that I learned from that was I felt sorry for myself for too long. Yeah. I spent too long feeling sorry for myself. I spent too long, woe is me. And what happens is you just don't move forward in life. And so one of the things I realized is as I decided to grow from that situation is, hey, when you have a setback, you want to cry a river for 24 hours and get it out, fine. But wake up, get moving, and continue to progress forward. And I think one of the things that can help us move forward is God in the Bible and looking at biblical characters in the Bible. And so as we talk about biblical characters in the Bible, let's talk about some biblical characters that you've read about and studied who were resilient people. And what ways were they resilient? What did they do? And maybe some places people can look this stuff up.
Yeah, Ben, one of the greatest leaders I think in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is Nehemiah. Yeah. Nehemiah actually was the cupbearer to the Persian king, which means he had to taste stuff before the king tasted in case it was poisoned.
That's a great job, right?
And wasn't that a great job? Yeah. But Nehemiah, God really laid it on his heart to go back to Jerusalem and to rebuild the wall around Jerusalem. Yeah. A lot of people, enemies, were profiting from being able to get into Jerusalem because the wall was broken down. Yeah. And God really laid it on his heart to go there. And so he went. Had a plan. He went back to Jerusalem to lead the way in rebuilding the wall, and he pulled this team of people together. But the adversity was just waiting for him, from all the surrounding countries around Jerusalem, and the criticism he had to deal with, the accusations, false accusations he had to deal with, and he had to really encourage his team and not allow them, because their aim, and remember, it's important to understand this, that when you're in leadership and you face adversity, the goal of adversity is to get you to stop and to quit.
The goal of adversity, that's good.
And so these enemies are trying to get them to stop rebuilding this wall.
Right.
But they finished it. And all the way to the end, when they were attacking Nehemiah himself as the leader, they were using criticism, intimidation to stop him as the leader, but they never stopped and they got the job done in the allotted time, which is really great.
Yeah.
You know?
Great example there. And again, you might have said this, but where can people find that story in the Bible?
Yeah, well, Nehemiah is right before Job. It's Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther in the Old Testament. It's 13 chapters, but the first 6 are a lot about his leadership, and you really learn a lot from that.
Good. How about somebody in the New Testament who is an individual in the New Testament who was resilient? In what ways were they resilient?
Well, who's the first person you would think of, Ben?
Well, before Jesus, obviously, the most resilient man would be Paul, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And Paul has always been one of my favorite characters, right? I mean, you picture what Paul maybe is, and you don't know sometimes. But Paul was a mentally, obviously, and emotionally very tough man. Physically, I don't know. I mean, we don't know what he looked like,
right.
But some of the things that he went through were just incredible. I mean, and I'll let you share a little bit, but he was sharing the gospel with people, and he was stoned one time and went right back into that town after they stoned him. Now, I've never had stones thrown at me. I can't imagine it would not feel very good. And I think if the threat of someone stoning me, I think I'd probably leave that town, right? And consider that for a minute, right? But that's a man, to your point, with a clear vision of what his purpose was and understood that this was going to be part of it when he did this and was willing to sacrifice. So I'll let you pick up on that.
Yeah, he was whipped. With rods, with a whip. He was thrown. He went overboard in a ship a couple times. And talking about criticism, it actually says in 2 Corinthians, hard pressed on every side, persecuted but not forsaken, struck down but not destroyed. Yeah. And so I don't know what he looked like by the end of his life. He's probably about 63 when he died. Wow. But when you think about what he went through, of course he was beheaded. That's the way he died. Wow. But his cause of reaching the world with the gospel drove him to go through whatever he needed to go through to get the job done. So it says in 2 Timothy, I finished the course. Yeah. I've completed the task you gave me to do.
Well, one of the things, and I listen to Chuck Swindoll, he does a good series on Paul. But even Paul, as we talk about resilience, while Paul sat in the prison, and it was kind of interesting to hear Chuck Swindoll describe what this prison was like. Yeah. Okay, I mean, wow, right? And those of you who you can certainly something you can look up, but a very horrible place. But even in his end days before he was killed, He wrote letters, obviously, to Timothy, and the resilience of passing that on. He could have easily probably sat in that prison cell and felt sorry for himself. Woe is me. I've never been in obviously a situation like that. And I think the resilience of him had everlasting effects, right? 1st and 2nd Timothy. I mean, it's essentially my understanding was listening to Chuck Swindoll is that he wrote those letters while he was in prison. Is that right?
Yeah, and while he was in prison, by the way, he was also singing and rejoicing, and the prison guards didn't know what to do with this guy.
There's freedom in that.
They saw him as being nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So well, good stuff. So I think we'll leave it there today. Just some examples of a resilient leader in the Bible, some good people to study and look at. And thanks for joining us today. You can join us. You can follow us on realityministriesllc.org, and there you can follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Have a great day.